I am happy that you're here. Hope everybody's having a great day. And when I pick my show topics, people ask me that a lot. So, how do you know what you're going to talk about? And I say, well, I kind of go with what happens usually during my day or through my week. And a day or so ago, I was speaking with somebody from a medical supply company. And he was saying, I listen to your show a lot. My wife and I listen to your show a lot. And he says, we're trying to make some decisions. We're trying to decide, do we want to go ketogenic? Do we want to go high protein? Do we want to go vegan? He says, but the problem is with the vegan was that it's awfully expensive. He says, and, my wife and I have to figure out if we can afford that. And so I said, no, wait a minute. I said, I spend so little money on food, whether it's at home or if I'm out at a restaurant. It is the cheapest way to live by far. And I said, and I do most of my food organic as well, and it's still substantially less expensive than anything else you can be doing. So he was a little surprised to hear that, as a lot of people are, because they keep saying, I want to eat better, but it's so expensive. So what I want to talk about today is some surprising reasons why organic is better, and then we'll weave in a little bit of how to eat better as well. Because my background is I'm board certified in chiropractic, I'm board certified in orthopedics, I'm board certified in pain management, double board certified in nutrition, BS in nutrition, retired dietitian, award-winning author. This show is heard all over the world. And so I've practiced what I preach for the past 32 years. And I found that it really works. And when you do a healthy lifestyle, everything else changes. You save a ton of money on healthcare costs, if nothing else. This is the least expensive way to go. Even if you don't care about being healthy, it's still cheaper on healthcare costs. It's cheaper on food. It's cheaper on utilities. I just saw something posted just today, as a matter of fact. They're talking about environmental impact. And of the top 15 or 20 foods that have the biggest environmental impact, there was one vegetable, and it was asparagus. Everything else was animal foods. So regardless of what motivates you, if you want to be healthy, if you want to save money, if you want to help the environment, if you want to live longer, if you want to have more energy, if you want to improve your love life, all these things come together with one answer. That's what's so cool. Now, as a chiropractor, I tell my patients if a bone moves out of place, it pinches a nerve and it hurts. But 90% of the nerves don't feel pain. Those are the nerves that control your organs. So, for example, you don't feel your blood pressure, your spleen, your thyroid, your kidneys. And if bones are out of alignment, they rub up against each other and they wear out. So one problem, bone out of place, 3 things solved when you put the bone back in place. Pain usually feels better, open up the nerves to the organ, spine doesn't wear out. Same thing with food. Multiple problems, cost, energy, weight gain, speed up the aging process, bad for the environment. One solution. So just do the one solution and all your other problems go away, which is kind of cool. Now, if you ever find yourself eyeing up the organic labels and you wonder, is it really worth it? According to a huge review study published in the British Journal of Nutrition, the answer is yes, it is. So with the latest study offering even more proof that organic is the best, I want to share some of the most intriguing reasons why you want to protect your body, why you want to go organic. We'll talk about plants, we'll talk about animals, whatever motivates you, we're going to talk about that. Number one reason, not the top reason, but the number one reason. I wrote them down in just a arbitrary order here. Organic fruits and vegetables contain 20 to 40% more disease-fighting antioxidants compared to the chemically grown counterparts. And in fact, eating only organic food is equivalent to eating an extra serving of fruits and vegetables a day without even having to eat the food. So you're going to get more nutrients just by eating organically grown fruits and vegetables, raw being better than cooked. Because whenever you cook something above 110 degrees, you destroy something called enzymes. Now, what are enzymes? This is important. You're a sack of chemicals. If I could dissolve you, break you down, dehydrate you, you're nothing but a sack of chemicals. And there's a certain amount of calcium, magnesium, boron, silica, vitamins, minerals, nutrients. And if I were to take that, all the exact component that's in you, and just put it in a bag, you're not going to be alive. But we, as human beings, as living creatures, have something called enzymes. Now, enzymes make molecules interact with each other. They're kind of like matchmakers. They'll say, okay, you, calcium, you go meet vitamin D, and you guys go form bone. And iron, you go meet some proteins and some other chemicals, and you form blood cells. And so enzymes are the reason we're alive. And the problem is that when you're young, you produce a lot of enzymes, and that's why you grow when you're young and you're healthy and you have energy. And as you get older, your enzyme levels start to drop. It's called aging. And as you age, your enzyme levels are dropping, and it's real easy and cheap and simple to slow down that process. And you do that by getting enzymes now from an outside source: raw fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So anything that isn't cooked above 110 degrees, including animal products. Now, I don't recommend you eat raw animal products because of the risk of disease, but raw foods have enzymes in them. And so when you eat the raw foods, you're replacing those enzymes and actually slowing down the aging process. So that's a real cool reason to eat more raw fruits and vegetables. And if you're doing organic, you're getting 20 to 40% more of the antioxidants. Antioxidants fight disease. Whenever something goes on in your body, you're exposed to chemicals, radiation, aging, your body produces something called free radicals. Now, free radicals are like Pac-Man. They attack the body, waka, 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 and they attack the body. And you need antioxidants to fight the free radicals. And you get the antioxidants from fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds again. So you see where this all starts to come together? So even though organic might be a little more expensive, and many times it's the same price or less. I know I was in one of the big box stores yesterday, I guess it was, and they had this big bag of organic frozen cherries for $12. It's like 3 or 4 pounds. I forget what it was. Crazy how inexpensive it was. All right, folks, a lot more to talk about as far as organic goes. Is it really worth it? The answer is yes. If you have a question, anything on healthcare, I'm going to open up the phone lines, 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. My website, if you have questions, you want to listen to radio shows, if you want to send me information, drjoeesposito.com. If you want to make appointments, drjoeesposito.com. Just Google Dr. Joe. The number at the studio, 844-44-DR-JOE. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Do appreciate you taking time out of your day. We're answering the question today, is organic worth it? And the answer is yes. So whether it's animal products, meat, dairy, cheese, butter, yogurt, ice cream, or fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, the answer is yes. And the answer is becoming more yes, if that makes sense, as time's going on. Because before 1980, we didn't have to worry about things like steroids, chemicals, hormones, antibiotics, pesticides, herbicides, genetically modified foods as much as we do. And since the 80s, now it's everywhere. And I'm seeing a lot of problems. We're seeing autism. Autism used to be one, when I was a kid, one in about 5,000 or 6,000. Now it's 1 in 55. And I saw one study, it's probably as high as 1 in 45. What changed in 3 decades? What changed in 4 decades? What happened in 2 generations? Where autism went crazy. And now we're talking about, well, autism's bad. Oh, we have to help people with autism. But it's really not being discussed what's causing it. Now, I don't know the answer as to what's causing it, but I have a strong suspicion. And that suspicion is that we're getting a lot of toxic chemicals in our food, in our mommies, into our fetuses, and that's causing a lot of problems. For example, heavy metal. Organic food is up to 48% lower in a metal called cadmium. Now, this is a toxic compound found in certain fertilizers. It's been linked to things like breast cancer and kidney stones. Is it causing autism? Probably not. But the combination of everything that we're exposing ourselves to as parents, as mother and father, and as children, we're seeing a change. When does that number stop? From 1 in 6,000 to 1 in 55, let's say. We'll be conservative, 1 in 55. We want to go to 1 in 45. And it continues to change. A couple of years ago, it was 1 in 120. When is that going to stop? Studies have shown that about 50% of Americans will be diabetic or pre-diabetic in the next couple of years. So we're doing something wrong. And so we got to go back old school to reverse a lot of these damages. Healthy plant compounds. There's something called polyphenols. And polyphenols are found in plants. And polyphenols actually prevent the bacteria in your colon from producing toxic chemicals. They kind of shut them down, and they prevent the things from producing things like cancer. Now, we used to think that polyphenols were antioxidants. Well, they really sort of they are, but they're having an effect on the bacteria in your colon. So that's kind of cool. And so the more plant-based chemicals called polyphenols we get, the better off we're going to be with the bacteria in our colon. 99%, or about 90 to 99%, depending on the study you read, of the DNA in our body is not human. It's bacteria and viruses. And so you kind of got to respect these bacteria and viruses because that's all we are. If it really breaks down to we're life support for bacteria, viruses, germs. And so if we keep those guys happy and healthy, they're going to keep us happy and healthy. Isn't that weird to think that you're just made up of other stuff? You're not you. You're just made up of other stuff, and you got to put the good stuff in. So the plant compounds are great. Another polyphenol is called resveratrol. And if you drink wine, you may have heard that red wine is good for your what? Well, for your heart. Of course it is. We heard the studies. It's good for your heart. It must be true. Why isn't white wine good for your heart? Why isn't vodka good for your heart? Why red wine? It's not the wine that's good for you. It's the red that's good for you. It's the antioxidants, the resveratrol, the polyphenols. But here's the kicker. If you want to get this resveratrol, and I've talked about resveratrol in the past, resveratrol has actually been shown to help reverse, or certainly slow down, the aging process. Because on your genes, not your denims, in your genes you have a little tail on it. And this little tail is very active when you're young. And as you get older, it gets weaker and weaker. It's called a telomere. And as the telomere shrinks, we can kind of estimate your age. Not your calendar age, your biological age. So you can be 90 years old and have a lower biological age, or you can be 20 years old and have a higher biological age. And so this resveratrol can actually prevent the telomeres and from wearing out and reverse some of that damage. Well, the problem is if you're going to get resveratrol, you can only get it from organic wine. You're not going to get a whole lot from non-organic wine. Why is this? Grapes, when they're being in nature without fungicide, without being exposed to fungicides, have to produce their own anti-fungus chemicals, like resveratrol. If we spray the grape with a fungicide, it doesn't have to produce a resveratrol anymore, so it doesn't have to fight the fungus. And so that's why if you're going to drink red wine, you need to drink organic red wine to get the resveratrol effect. But here's the kicker. You have to drink about a half a case a day to get him a day. And Ahmad is smiling. Yes, this is not permission, Ahmad, to drink half a case of red wine a day.
Why do you want to crush my dreams?
I know. I'm just like that. So. And if you want to take resveratrol, you can get it in a pill form. You can get it from grapes, red grapes. Japanese knotweed is another source of resveratrol. I know how many people know what Japanese knotweed is. And it's great supplement. And people say to me all the time, so Dr. Joe, should I take this supplement, that supplement? I get that question literally every day, 7 days a week. And the answer is, I don't know. I mean, some things you should take, like, for example, Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Those are two supplements. I created them. And it's the minimum amount of nutrients I think you should be taking every day. I take it at least once a day. When I travel, I went on a cruise not long ago, brought it with me, took it every day. It's a powder. It goes right through security. And it's the minimum amount of nutrients. It's powdered fruits, vegetables, prebiotics, probiotics, digestive enzymes, complete multivitamin. It has iodine in it, omega-3 fatty acids. So I take that every day. You should too, by the way, as the minimum amount of nutrients that you need. Now, do you need to take something like resveratrol? Maybe. But if you're eating a good diet, if you're eating mostly fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, if you have a healthy digestive system, if you don't have gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, those are all signs that something's wrong. Many times it's the stomach pushing up into the diaphragm, and in our offices we pull the stomach away from the diaphragm very gently. It doesn't hurt. And we fix the cause, not just treat the symptoms. And then you have a good diet, a lot of organic fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. If you're going to do animal products, I don't. But I understand you're not me, so if you're going to, make sure they're organic. And then you don't need a lot of other supplements. A supplement is just that. It supplements a good diet. It's not instead of a good diet. And so many people think it's instead of a good diet. Well, I can have anything I want, and that's not the case. When you start getting a whole package together, normally functioning nervous system, normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition, now you have a healthcare plan. And that's why I created Super Greens and Essential Source. I wanted to make it as simple as possible and as inexpensive as possible, relatively inexpensive for what you're getting. For people to say anybody can do this. On any budget, you can afford to take the Super Greens and the Essential Source. And I tell people this, you can't afford not to. Because if you can start to get your body healthy, chances are you'll work harder, you'll make more money, you'll miss work less. You'll have more energy. You'll enjoy your life better. Your romance will improve. Your social interactions will improve. So you can't afford not to take care of yourself. It's so much cheaper to get the nervous system working, the digestive system working, and have a good diet than it is to be sick in the long run. So, got to go to a break. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, give us a call. The number is 844-44-DR-JOE, 844-44-DRJOE. That number, by the way, rings through to my office when I'm not on the air. If you have questions, my office is. My website, if you want to listen to archive radio shows, if you want to order Dr. Joe Super Greens and Essential Source, also they're available on Amazon, too. My website is drjoeesposito.com. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. Glad you could be here. Hope you're learning lots, as we always try to do here on the Dr. Joe Show. We got Rachel answering your calls. If you have a question, give us a call at 844-44-DR-JOE. We have DJ Ahmad back there spinning the records and making me sound good. And, of course, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito, and we're talking today about the reasons why organic is better. And first of all, the answer is yes, it is, but I want you to understand why. And sometimes people say, well, Dr. Joe, it's more expensive. Organic apples are 15 cents more a pound than non-organic apples. Yeah, but you can't look at the short term. You have to look at the long term. And if you're a business person, you understand that sometimes you have to have a lost leader, so to speak, to get people in your door in order to make bigger profits. Well, that's the same way with food. Sometimes you have to spend a little bit more to get long-term benefits. When Sam Walton, I read Sam Walton's biography, I think it was called Made in the USA, and one of the things he used to do, he owned I think it was called a Ben Franklin, like a 5 and dime, for those of you old enough to remember that, and he thought, what are some things that people need, that they always buy, and one of the things was toothpaste. So he would put toothpaste on sale in his store cheaper than what he paid for it. Well, how stupid is that? You're losing money. Yeah, but once people are in the store, then they're going to get all the benefits of everything else in the store. Well, that's how food is. Sometimes you have to spend a little bit up front. It's going to cost you a little bit, but the long-term benefits far outweigh anything else. Now, what I do is when I look for frozen organic food, fruits and vegetables, when it's on sale with coupons, I'll stock up, put it in my freezer. And then the nice part is this. You have food in your house. A lot of people I know don't have food in their house. And you can open a freezer and go, what do I want tonight? Oh, I have broccoli, I have cucumbers, well, not cucumbers frozen, but, asparagus. And you can kind of eat that way. And if it's in the house, this is my rule on eating, you're going to eat it, whether it's good food or it's bad food. So if you have cookies and brownies and cakes and donuts and bagels and pasta, you're going to eat it if it's in the house. If you have good food in the house, you're going to eat that. So organic is way better on so many different levels, and if you buy it on sale, it's usually cheaper than the regular stuff, and a lot of things are frozen anyway, so that's a good thing as well. Again, fewer chemicals, of course, that's the most obvious reason you want organic, but it's not enough to just wash your non-organic veggies. A lot of chemicals are what we call systemic, meaning that they're taken up inside the plants that you eat. In fact, a Norwegian study found that you're actually eating extreme levels of something called glyphosate, which is weed killer, when you eat non-organic foods. Now, here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of grains, especially wheat being my least favorite one, because grains have something in it called lectins. Now, wheat has gluten, which is a weak lectin. It's not a very strong lectin. But lectins are proteins that when they get into your colon can actually essentially tear holes in your colon and create a hole where big chunks of undigested food can be absorbed, and that's called a leaky gut. And it creates a problem called leaky gut syndrome. So if you have a lot of allergies, if you're sick all the time, chances are you might have leaky gut syndrome. So when patients come in my office, I might not only take them off the animal products, I might take them off grains for a few weeks to let the leaky gut actually heal. But this is what we do. Most commercial grains, especially wheat, but they do it with corn and other grains too, a few weeks before harvest, they spray the whole crop with weed killer. And it kills not only the weeds, it kills the stalk of wheat itself. Then it's easier to harvest. It's a lot less stressed on harvesting tools. And so it's cheaper to harvest the wheat by killing it. But all that weed killer, all that glyphosate and other chemicals are now on that wheat, ground up, you're eating it. And even though it's small doses, those small doses add up. Because how many people eat wheat every day? How many people eat it multiple times a day? So it's not just the gluten that can cause an allergic reaction. It's the lectin. Gluten is a lectin that can tear holes in your gut. And now we have to worry about the glyphosate and the weed killer getting into your body as well. So if you're going to eat grains, which I don't think you should, but if you do, because I'm a realist, I want you to make sure that they're organic only. But what will happen is when you start cutting things like breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, and pastas, wheat out of your diet, you'll feel so good so fast. And when you go cheat, and you will, because I know you're going to cheat. I want you to realize why you feel bad. Because some people say, I don't know why I feel bad today. You feel bad because you ate bad food. Let's take some callers. We got lots of callers at 844-44 Joe. JJ, how can we make your day better?
Dr. Joe, thank you. Dr. Joe, I eat a lot of raw onions and raw garlic. Can you please tell me the benefits of that?
Absolutely, yes. Garlic is natural antibiotic, antiviral, and antifungal. And that's one of the cool benefits of this is that there are, we're going to talk about this a little later, but you got ahead of me here, is that there's a lot of super bugs out there, super bacteria that are not responding to antibiotics because we've put so much antibiotics into our body, we as a collective society over the years, the bacteria have mutated. And so they're not responding to normal antibiotics. Garlic, they haven't been exposed to a lot. So it's wonderful, antibiotic, antiviral, and antifungal. So garlic has a lot of benefits. It thins your blood. It helps with cholesterol. Onions have something in it called quercetin. Quercetin is nature's antihistamine. So as far as runny nose, allergies, if you cut out your wheat and dairy products, chances are your allergies are going to get 1,000,000 times better. But by eating onions, you're getting the quercetin and the antibacterial effects to help with sinuses. So the benefits are outrageously good. Here's the thing with garlic, though. I'll give you a little trick. Take the garlic, smash it up, and let it sit for about 5 minutes.
I always do that. I learned from you.
There you go. Oh, you're brilliant then, JJ. And the chemicals, allicin and allicinase, they all interact, and they become much more potent. So keep on eating the onions and the garlic, and you have bad breath. Dr. Joe
yes,
Super Greens.
I eat it at night, so I don't get the
Oh, you're a smart man.
Day.
Dr. Joe Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source works real well.
I take that also.
Oh, you're wonderful. And so is parsley, by the way. Parsley's great for
that. Another question.
All right, go ahead, real quick.
A few quick foods that are high in antioxidants, please.
Okay, any fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source are the ones I take every day. That's for my antioxidants as well.
Very good, sir. I made 100 on this test.
You did, Jay. You passed the test. You get the star. You're a student of the day.
You have a nice evening, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, JJ. Talk to you soon. Folks, if you have a question, our number here is 844-44 Dr. Joe. My website, drjoeesposito.com. You just Google Dr. Joe, the number one Dr. Joe in the world. Hey, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. Glad you could be here. We're talking today, or answering the question today, is organic food better for you than non-organic food? And the answer is a resounding yes. A couple of things, too. If you're eating animal products, there's better fat in organic animal products than there is in non-organic. A 2013 study found that organic milk is higher in the good omega-3 fatty acids, mostly in part to the cows being out in the pasture more and eating grasses. They're not eating a lot of chemicals, and that's the food that they eat, which converts into the omega-3 fatty acids. Not only did non-organic milk contain lower levels had higher levels of good fats, it had lower levels of bad fats. Because as a chiropractor, I deal a lot with pain. And when patients come into our office, of course, we always check to see what's causing the pain. Is it a pinched nerve, a bulging disc, a muscle spasm? But we also like to do a nutritional evaluation on them because certain foods can increase your pain. I've done shows on that before on food and pain management. And if you're getting high amounts of good omega-3 fatty acids, it helps your brain function, but it also reduces inflammation. If you're eating non-organic foods, they have a lot higher levels of omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6 fatty acids actually cause inflammation, and inflammation can cause pain. Now, we have a guest today. We have Julia with us. Julia, say hi to everybody.
Hey.
Okay, so Julia, I want to talk to Julia a little bit about organic food. Julia has been eating pretty organic food a good portion of her life. Julia, do you like organic food better than non-organic food? Do you notice a difference in taste?
Yeah, I do enjoy organic food more. It tastes a lot fresher and a lot healthier than the non-organic counterparts.
Okay, now you have a good diet. I know you have a good diet. Question for you. How do you do in school?
I do pretty well, mostly A's.
Okay, so you're pretty smart. When you eat bad food, and I know you do, because all kids do, when you eat bad foods, do you notice a difference? Do you feel more tired, sluggish?
Yeah, tired. I don't feel as focused in school and just in general life.
Okay, so you see a big difference then.
Yeah.
And I could ask this question because it's a loaded question. Do you take Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Essential Source every day?
Most of the time, yeah, I do.
And they taste good?
Yeah,
Good.
pretty good.
Okay, great. Okay, there's Julia. That's our guest today. So we had to have our guest giving you an endorsement for organic foods. And it's really cool because things like Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source, those are concentrated fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And when you take them, you feel a big difference. And we test them, and they have essentially no residual pesticides in them, which is kind of cool too. So if you're eating non-organic fruits and vegetables, you're getting a lot of pesticides. And certain foods, here's my rule: if you're going to eat the skin, like an apple, let's say, what we do is apple farmers, they'll spray the apples with chemicals, and then they'll pick the apples and dip them in wax many times to create that nice shiny skin. Well, if you're eating a non-organic apple, those chemicals are sealed in the wax. And the only way to get them off is if you dip the apple in hot water and then scrub it. And you'll see the wax rise to the top. Then you can get the chemicals off. A lot easier, quicker, cheaper way is eat the organic apples. And like Julia just said, they taste a whole lot better. Let's take another call. Dave, how can we make your day better?
Hi, Dr. Joe. I was hoping to get your opinion on high doses of vitamin C and lysine that may reduce arterial plaque.
A great question, actually, yes. If you're going to do vitamin C, high doses, there's ways to tell how much, and I'll tell you how much you should be taking in a second. But if you're going to do vitamin C, make sure it's pure vitamin C and not ascorbic acid. Because ascorbic acid is a fraction of the vitamin C molecules. It doesn't have all the bioflavonoids and rutin in it, and that's a problem. So you got to make sure if you're going to do vitamin C, it's got to be pure vitamin C. Number two, if you want to know how much to take vitamin C, take a dose, and notice what happens if your bowels are working normally. The next day, double the dose. The next day, double the dose, and eventually you'll hit something called your bowel tolerance. And what your bowel tolerance is you can't absorb any more vitamin C, and you get diarrhea. So take it, double the dose until you get diarrhea or loose stools, not necessarily diarrhea, and then cut back to 80% of that high number. So the answer is it good for your heart? Yes. If you have hardening of the arteries, if you have plaquing in the arteries, you can actually do intravenous. You'd have to go to a medical doctor to have this done, and that's great for infections. But if you have clogged arteries, they're probably also going to recommend something called EDTA, which is going to help dissolve the plaque as well. So that's how you get your vitamin C. Dr. Joe Super Greens, Dr. Joe Essential Source, great sources. If you're going to take an additional one, just make sure it's pure vitamin C.
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks so much for the call. And folks, if you have a question, give us a call, 844-44-DR-JOE, D-R-J-O-E. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. Now, we archive our radio shows. So if you want to listen to shows in the past, we have hundreds of hours, and the cost for all the hundreds of hours of shows and videos of my lectures, I do a lot of live lectures, I videotape them, the cost for all of that is my gift to you. No charge. So go to website, drjoeesposito.com. We have articles I've written there. You can get my books there, Eating Right for the Health of It, A Prescription for Extreme Health, and a lot of other good things. So the website's a good source, drjoeesposito.com. So we're talking today about reasons, is organic better? The answer is yes. We mentioned this earlier, about 90,000 people a year die from antibiotic-resistant superbug infections, things like MRSA. You may have heard MRSA. They're pretty dangerous germs, and where are they coming from? The non-organic farmers feed low-dose antibiotics to their animals pretty much daily to speed the growth and get their animals to slaughter sooner, because if I'm a farmer, I make money when I sell the animal per pound as fast as possible. The trouble is the germs that build up in these animals, now you bring home from the supermarket, and they've been hit with antibiotics pretty much every day of their lives, and they become resistant. So organic foods don't have those resistant cooties in them that are going to get you. Pretty gross here. Food not grown, that food that's not organic can actually be grown in human sewage. It's perfectly legal for non-organic farmers to douse non-organic fields with human sewage sludge taken from municipal water plants as fertilizer for their crops. The sludge contain whatever diseases, chemical plants, junk that's in there, and that gets into the plants. And in fact, if you test water, we test water for viruses, germs, bacteria, but we don't test it for drug residue. So if I'm taking a statin drug, if I'm taking a birth control pill, if I'm taking a heart medication, when I go to the bathroom, some of that is going to be flushed out. And when it goes into the water treatment plant, the water is processed for viruses, germs, bacteria, but we don't have a treatment plant that filters out drug residue. And so those drugs in very low doses are getting into your drinking water. And if we're using human sludge, it's really bad. It's getting into the plants. That's why I always recommend a water filter, at least an under-counter water filter, absolute minimum. And I have one in my house. It's probably 4 or 5 feet tall, and it filters every drop of water. Why? Because I'm worth it. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, 844-44-Dr. Joe, my website, drjoeesposito.com. If you want to order Super Greens, Essential Source, you can get them at drjoeesposito.com. Also, a lot of my products and books are on Amazon. If you have an Amazon account, might make life a little easier for you. But give us a call if you have a question. Let me see if I can help you out, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Hey, tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. Hey, tell your friends about the show. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening, and thanks for telling your friends about the show. I do appreciate that because every day we get so many likes on my Facebook page. So if you haven't done it yet, this is your homework assignment. Go to Facebook/Dr. Joe Esposito, like my page, and don't send me a friend request. I'm real close to the end of friends requests. You're only allowed 5,000. So go to my business page. You could like that page, and we send out a lot of good information on Facebook as well. And we do appreciate that. So thanks for telling your friends. And we're talking today about organic food. Is it really worth it? And the answer is a resounding yes. And the neat part is that a couple of years ago, it was a more costly. But you're saving so much money. And here's the thing. If you were to buy a pound of meat, now I don't eat meat. I haven't had meat. I haven't had any animal products in over 30 years. People come to my offices all the time and say, I want your energy. I said, I don't do anything to get energy. I just don't do things that zap my body of energy. That's the difference. As soon as you stop robbing your body of energy, you have energy. So a lot of nutrition is passive, not active. You have to not do something as opposed to doing something. You have to not put the bad foods in your body. I call them the 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener, which all of you just said collectively, that's my whole diet. I know it's most of your diet, but you got to stop that if your goal is to get well and stay well. If your goal is not to get well and stay well and save a ton of money, that's okay too. You don't have to do that. This show then is just entertaining for you. We said a while ago that autism is skyrocketing. It's depending on the study you read, 1 in 45 or 1 in 55 kids. That's a scary number. And it doesn't seem to be stopping. It seems to be becoming more and more common. And we see ADD like crazy. In fact, I was walking through a mall the other day, and they had these little spinner things, these fidgety things, and I picked one up, and I spun it a few times, and I went, okay, I don't get the attraction to this, but okay. But somebody said that they're very helpful for kids with ADD. Well, not helpful. That's a salesman trying to tell me that. So what about this ADD thing? What the heck's going on there? A lot of it has to do with a lot of the chemicals and food dyes that we're putting in our food. So if you're eating organic, you're not going to get the artificial food dyes that are linked to brain damage, cell damage, and ADD. The dye, red dye number 2 and blue dye number 4 or whatever it is. I don't remember the exact numbers. If you're eating organic food, they're not going to be putting these artificial chemicals in it. So if they want to dye something red, for example, they might use beet powder as opposed to red number whatever. And so you're going to help tremendously with brain function by not putting the non-organic foods in your body. Okay. So you got to be careful because it's not just the food, it's the chemicals and the dyes and the additives. And one of the rules I have when it comes to food is if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. It's just that simple. Now, there are some things you probably can't pronounce, like methylcobalamin. That's vitamin B12, but that's okay. There's a couple of things you're not going to be able to pronounce, but generally speaking, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it, and that's going to be a good rule. So let's go back to the callers. If you have a question, give us a call. The numbers are 844-44-Dr. Joe, D-R-J-O-E, 844-44-Dr. Joe. Rusty, how can we make your day better?
Yes, sir. It's nice to talk to you. I just started listening to you. I've been coming to Atlanta. I'm a truck driver, and I've been coming down here for about a year and a half. But I've developed a problem in the last 2 years. I said a lot. I spent a lot of time in the seat. But it started out when I was eating. I'd start hiccuping a lot. And I'd get locked up. My chest had a lot of pressure on my chest.
Oh, yeah.
And then it went from that to no more hiccuping, but I'd get locked up and I could belch and relieve the pressure.
Right.
And now it's went to where, well, it's not as bad, but it went to where I needed to throw up in order to relieve the pressure.
Yep.
And now it's gotten to where nothing fixes it except if I just, wait in time. And when I feel like I'm drinking or eating down the wrong windpipe,
yep.
And now my taste buds is completely gone.
Yep.
I can taste certain foods, but most of it, especially sweets, taste like crap.
Yeah, well, the number one reason patients come to our offices is for back pain. Again, we're chiropractors. Back pain, neck pain, headaches, auto accidents. Again, I've never seen a car accident where the car was damaged and the people weren't. So we see a lot of car accident patients. The number two reason we see patients is what you have. So it is that common. I would say when I test my patients, about 85% of my patients have what you have to some degree or another. And what happens?
To a lot of people with it, young, old, all kinds of ages.
Yeah,
too.
it doesn't matter. Yep, fat, skinny, male, female. What happens is you have a sheet of muscle called your diaphragm. And the way you breathe is your diaphragm drops down and it sucks air into your lungs. And the way you exhale is your diaphragm moves up and it pushes the air out of the lungs. So it's a mechanical. Breathing is a mechanical process.
Right.
Your stomach sits below your diaphragm, and there's a little hole in the stomach called the lower esophageal sphincter. Your stomach is pushed up into the diaphragm and spasmed. And so the food is now sitting in your stomach, not digesting properly, and it tries to come up into your esophagus. And that's why a burp every now and then would help. A little air would be released. And now you're actually having to throw up the food because your stomach is so spasmed. So what we do in our offices, and I have the same condition, Rusty, I'm a patient just like everybody else, is we take the stomach and we gently massage it down away from the diaphragm. Doesn't hurt. And it's amazing what happens because now your stomach not only doesn't hurt, it starts digesting proteins. And the proteins break down into amino acids, and amino acids become neurotransmitters in the brain. They help the whole body work more efficiently. So when you fix the stomach, not only do you feel better, you start to see exponential benefits all over your body. So it'd be a good idea to get that
fixed. When I eat, I feel like I swallowed a watermelon. I just swell up like a pumpkin.
I get it too. And then you get bloating in the gut. So very, very common situation. But if you go to my website, drjoeesposito.com, the number one article that's downloaded by far is an article I wrote on GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. So read that article. It's about 2 or 3 paragraphs long. Explains how to fix it, how we fix it in our office. And then if you want to come see us, we'd love to have you come in as a patient.
Okay, I got one more problem. I think it's just mainly due from sitting.
Sure.
I got ache. Sometimes my legs will ache when I try to sleep at nighttime.
Oh, yeah.
From my knees down to my ankles. But I got a treadmill about 3 months ago. Started walking on it.
Got to go to break. Yeah, got to go to break, Rusty. That's a pinched nerve in your low back, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Now, folks, if the number here is 844-44-Dr. If you have a question, 844-44-DRJOE. That number rings through to my office when I'm not on the air, and my website is drjoeesposito.com. Hey, folks, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Hey, folks, don't go anywhere. Hey, everybody, glad you could be here. I am Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking today about organic food. Is it really worth it? Because sometimes people say it's a little more expensive. But, again, I don't buy animal products, but I know that a pound of meat is probably going to cost $6, $7. You can buy a whole lot of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds for $6, $7, organic. And that's what people say it's a little more expensive. Yeah, if you're looking, literally comparing apples to apples, but when you look at your overall food bill, you're going to save a ton of money. And think about this. What about poor countries? What about people that don't have a lot of money? Those are the foods you want to consider eating. If I was in Mexico not long ago, and of course beans and rice are very popular. Avocados are very popular. You can make a whole lot of food for a couple of dollars if you're making beans and rice. You can't make a whole lot of food if you're doing steak and chicken. So it's a whole lot cheaper, a whole lot easier, cleaner on your kitchen, better on your pots and pans, better for you. I don't see a downside to eating organic fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, except for the fact it might take a little food prep work. But the neat part is this. You can buy pre-made stuff now that's organic. 30 years ago, when I started changing my diet, when I came to the realization of what I was putting in my body, we didn't have all the convenience foods that we have now. So organic is a much better choice. We talked a little bit about glyphosate, which is a weed killer that's really popular and used on almost everything. There's so much glyphosate now, government scientists have detected it in rain. So there's so much residual in groundwater that's evaporating up into the air. It's coming down in rain. So even tiny amounts of America's most popular weed killer, glyphosate, can damage DNA and kill cells, and it's been linked to infertility and even certain types of cancer. There's a movement right now. Is it Cheerios? One of the cereal companies, they had a bee as their mascot. And on the boxes, it's just a silhouette of the bee because the bees are dying out. Now, here's the thing, folks. If bees die out, we die out. Bees pollinate our food. And even if you're eating nothing but animal products, those animals have to eat the food that's been pollinated by the bees. And a lot of it, speculation here, is coming from glyphosate. Other speculatory issues are cell phone towers. And that the electromagnetic frequencies are driving the bees, and they kind of get lost when they're flying around. Bottom line is this. We have a lot less bees than we should have, and it's getting worse and worse. So if you're eating non-organic food, those chemicals are killing off the bees as well. Now, one of the things the cereal company did is, from what I understand, if they're still doing it, they put a little package of wildflower seeds in the cereal box. And so they're encouraging you to plant wildflowers. So it's not a bad thing to do, by the way. If you don't mind, throw out some wildflower seeds. Are real easy. It's pretty cool. According to studies done on soil, if all the cropland in Earth were treated organically, the soil would absorb 41% of all the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and the pasture land could absorb the additional 71%. So if the whole world went organic, it would clean up the air. So that's pretty cool, too. Now, that's not going to happen. Of course, the whole world isn't going to go organic. But if the air is cleaner, it's a lot less chemicals getting dumped into your body because you're inhaling a lot of those chemicals. So there's really no downside to eating a more organic diet. And especially, I'm begging you this, baby food. Please, I'm on my knees begging you. If you have a child, breast milk is the healthiest thing. But as they start going into solid foods, organic only. Please, at least do that. That's going to make life a whole lot easier because even if it's non-organic, it can be tested to make sure it doesn't have pesticides, but chances are it's going to have the pesticides. Now, one of the reasons we use a lot of glyphosate or these chemicals is because of something called genetically modified organisms or GMOs. When GMOs first came out, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, you're crazy, you're a radical nut job. Now you're seeing commercials contains no GMOs. Genetically modified organisms. And what we do is, scientists, not we, but scientists, have found ways to alter nature. They messed with Mother Nature, and they created genetically modified crops, corn and soy being the two big ones. Canola. If you're going to use canola oil, which you shouldn't because it's very high in omega-6 fatty acids, which cause inflammation, and as a chiropractor, my concern is get you out of pain, chemically as well as physically, and chemically you're doing that. I wouldn't recommend using canola oil, but if you do, it's got to be organic because they make it from rapini. In Italian, it's called broccoli rabe. Is how I was raised. I love one of my favorite foods is broccoli rabe. They use the seeds, and they make canola oil from it. And so those are the three biggies that are genetically modified. But now we've even genetically modified salmon. And we have these monster, mega, giant, very aggressive salmon that so far are only supposed to be in experimental labs. They're not supposed to be in wild. Well, eventually somebody's going to let these things into the wild, and scientists predict that once they do, they'll start mating with the natural, if you will, salmon. And this could be, this generation, our generation, could be the last generation that ever sees a truly wild salmon because they're very aggressive toward the other salmon, and they'll mate with them, and they'll start passing on their genetically modified genes. Real scary stuff. So corn and soy, if you're going to do corn and soy, I recommend organic only, please, 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 because of the risk of genetically modified foods. 92% of corn, 94% of soybeans in this country are genetically modified. The animals, the chickens, the cows, the pigs, they're eating these GMO crops that are sprayed with a lot of this glyphosate, and it's building up in their tissue. So if you're eating non-organic animal products, you're getting a high concentration of these things. So GMOs work basically two ways. Number one is an animal or a bug eats the crop, and the crop is producing its own chemicals, pesticides. So they eat the crop, and it explodes the animal's stomach or kills them. The other way is that it affects the hormones of the bugs so that they can't reproduce. And over time, guess what? It's going to affect your hormones as well. And so it's not a good thing. And when we're spraying all these chemicals on there, we're spraying glyphosate or weed killer, the plants, the plant we're eating, it becomes resistant to glyphosate. It'll kill the weeds, but not the plant. Well, two things are happening. Number one is the residual pesticide is left on the plant that you're eating. And number two, once again, not nice to fool Mother Nature, the weeds are mutating. And so now we're having to use more and more chemicals. And in fact, it's been said, I don't know if it's happened yet, to bring back DDT. DDT is a weed killer because the plants haven't been exposed to DDT in decades, and so they're not used to it. DDT, we know, is highly toxic to babies, fetuses, pregnant women, and to everyone. But it can cause a lot of birth defects as well. So the concern is we've opened Pandora's box, and I don't know if we can close it. But you can close it in your world very simply by not eating a lot of non-organic foods. It's good for the environment. You save a ton of money because if you're eating mostly fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, you're going to save a ton of money. If you're eating organic animal products, yes, it might be more expensive, but in the long run, your health is so valuable. In our offices, patients come to us literally every day, and I get emails 7 days a week saying, Dr. Joe, you're my last hope. I have acid reflux, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, arm pain. I was in a car accident, and I'm still having pain 3, 6, 10 months later, a year later, 5 years later. I don't know what else to do. You're my last hope. And the one thing we offer in our offices and what we offer on our radio show as well is hope. And if you like listening to the shows, you can go to my website, drjoeesposito.com. We archive hundreds of hours of radio shows there. We videotape my live lectures. If you want to order Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source, my books, other supplements, drjoeesposito.com, and also Amazon. We have an Amazon page as well. A lot of products are on Amazon as well if you have an Amazon account. Hey, do me a favor. Like me on Facebook. We send out good information. Tell your friends about the show. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. Glad you could make it. We're talking today about organic food and is it worth it? And the answer is a resounding yes. Because there's so many chemicals, pesticides, genetically modified foods, steroids, hormones that's in our food. And when we put that in our body, over time, it becomes cumulative and it can cause some real serious health damages. So why not do organic? And especially if you're eating more of a plant-based diet, you're going to save so much money because you're not eating the animal products anyway. And whether you're eating organic or not, when you start cutting out the animal products, everything becomes a whole lot cheaper. And this is something I used to talk about years ago. As I go to a restaurant, cover up the food, look at the prices. The cheapest thing on the menu, almost always, I've never seen it not happen, is usually the healthiest thing on the menu. So it's not hard to figure out what's a better choice. A better choice is save money, eat healthier. So I want to talk about how to decipher these labels, because it really is a serious issue because you go into the store and not know what these things mean. Now, you're busy all day. You're running errands. A trip to the supermarket gets a little crazy. In fact, I was talking to a new friend of mine yesterday, and he was saying that him and his wife have an issue because they're so busy. We're talking about the new generation and how stores are closing. Retail stores are closing. They're predicting about 1/3 to 1/2 of the malls are going to be closed in the next 5 to 10 years because people are doing more online shopping. And so my friend Ben said, my wife now wants to have our groceries delivered to the house. And he says she's busy, he's busy, and it would just make life easier. So it really is getting to the point where our lives are so busy and so crazy that a trip to the grocery store can be a little unnerving, and that's why they now have these delivery services. But you have to know what you're ordering. But you go to store, the shelves are stocked with choices, and the food labels make claims from everything from more protein to added antioxidants. You don't know what you're reading. It becomes overwhelming. So while you have a commitment to eating clean, and I want to make shopping easier for you, I'm going to teach you how to read labels. Certified organic, that's a key word. You're looking for the word certified organic. So for produce, this term means the plants weren't grown with any genetically modified seeds. They weren't grown with any pesticides, herbicides, human sludge, or sewage, and they're not irradiated. That's another thing. If it's not organic, it could have been irradiated. They zap it with radiation to try to kill any critters that might be in there. But in the process, it can change the molecular structure of the plant. Now, for meats and poultry, certified organic seal means the animals were fed organic feed with no animal byproducts. That means ground up other animals. And were not given antibiotics, hormones, and have some, but not necessarily much, access to the outdoors. So certified organic is the way you want to go. Now, you'll see things like grass-fed, pasture-raised. Was the grass organic? Did the grass have steroids, hormones, chemicals, pesticides, genetically modified sewage on it? So you want to make sure the word organic pops up. That's going to be the key. Packaged foods, in order for it to be certified organic, it must be made up of at least 95% organic ingredients. Now, if the label says made with organic ingredients, sounds the same, doesn't it? Organic, made with organic ingredients. Made with organic must contain 70% organic ingredients. So it's good to look at what you're buying. You could also, if you have a farmer's market near you, go to the farmer's market, talk to the farmers. Hopefully they're going to tell you the truth. And you can get better choices that way as well. Cage-free. This is another buzzword that people read, and because I do nutritional consultations every day. We do them with our patients. We do it online. Patients call in from all over the world. We do nutrition consults over the phone with them. And people say, oh, I only eat organic meat. Okay, really? Does it say organic? No, it says pasture-raised. Organic eggs. No, they're cage-free. No, if it doesn't have the big O, if it doesn't have an organic on it, it ain't organic. Or at least it's probably not organic. How about that? For eggs, the term cage-free means that the hens were not confined to cages, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything else. They're supposed to have access to an outdoor space. Doesn't necessarily mean that, but they could. Now, it's an outdoor space. It could mean that there's this coop full of chickens shoulder to shoulder, and there's a door, and they open the door, so want to go outside? They're chicken. They don't want to go outside. They say, no, I don't want to go outside, and they close the door. So that means they had access to the outside. They just didn't take it. Now, it's not ideal cage-free, but it does give them a chance to spread their wings and lay their eggs in nesting boxes, which is a little closer to natural behavior. If they're caged up, the chickens can't move, they can't turn, and basically they're just fed enough to make eggs, make eggs, make eggs. When they stop making eggs, then their life is over, and that's pretty much it. And they're under a lot of stress. And when animals are under stress, whether it's you or a chicken or a cow, you release chemicals. Like for us, we release cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. And when cortisol gets into your muscles, it can affect circulation. It can affect how fat is laid down. A friend of mine works in the food industry. He makes seasonings. And he said one of the problems he's having is that pork doesn't have flavor anymore because they're feeding them so fast to make them grow faster. They don't have time to develop a lot of fat in the muscle. And so pork is dry and tasteless. And so one of his jobs is try to create seasonings to make the pork taste better. Now, I don't eat pork. I don't know what that means. But he says that's a big issue in the past 20 years or so. You may have noticed it if you're a pork eater, how it's actually changed over time. But I digress. So unless they're being raised organic, cage-free hens can still be fed grains from genetically modified crops. They've been treated with chemical pesticides, and then you're eating that. Because there's no mandatory third-party auditing for the term cage-free, you want to look for the term organic, because organic is going to give you the food that you're looking for. Cage-free may not do it for you. So that's where the problem comes in. Free range. Now, you see this on poultry and egg packaging, and it means the hens have access to the outdoors, though the amount, duration, and quality of that outdoor is not specified. Once again, they have to have access to it. So unless they're raised organic, free-range animals can still be given antibiotics and pesticide-loaded foods. There are slight better options than cage-free. It's a little better free-range than cage-free. But again, there's no mandatory third party, so you have a chicken raiser, you can do that. So look for the term third-party certifications such as Certified Humane or American Humane Society, but the best thing really is just go organic. Folks, if you have a healthcare question, give us a call, 844-44-Dr. Joe. That number rings through to my offices when I'm not on the air. My website, drjoeesposito.com. If you want to order my books, Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Everyone should be taking that. Or if you have questions, drjoeesposito.com. Hey, don't go anywhere. Tell your friends about the show. We'll be right back. I am so glad that you're here. I hope you're learning lots of things today. We're talking today about organic food, and is it worth it? And the answer is yes. And we're now talking about how to read labels, because the word organic means that it's made with organic foods. If it says made with organic foods, it has to be 70% organic. So it's a little tricky there, and that's where it gets a little confusing. And you got to watch out the way wording is, because the wording is legal, but it doesn't always make sense. And so we talked about free range. Okay, free range means usually found in poultry and egg. It means they had access to the outdoors, but they could still be being fed bad foods. So you want to make sure you see the word organic on your eggs. And, I don't eat eggs, but I looked at the price one day, and it was, 50 cents a dozen more for organic. Come on, folks. Give up your coffee, okay? And you'll have lots of money to spend on your organic eggs. And, oh, by the way, coffee, no, off the topic, not really. Coffee needs to be organic as well, because coffee is one of the most highly sprayed foods there is. When I say sprayed, a lot of chemicals and pesticides. So if you're going to do coffee, you shouldn't. But if you do, make sure you do organic only. So ideally, no coffee. The next best would be organic decaf. And then next best would be organic coffee. But if it's not organic, you really shouldn't be eating it because you're getting a lot of chemicals and pesticides in your body. And coffee is also a very strong acid. And when you put acid in your body has to neutralize the acids. And the body uses calcium as one of its primary neutralizing agents. So your body is sucking calcium out. Well, the acids are sucking calcium away from your bones and your blood to neutralize the acid. And so that's one of the major reasons why people get osteoporosis. It's not that they, in most cases, they have too little calcium. It's that they have too much acid. And the acid foods are the 7 deadly sins: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, and artificial sweetener. If you want to make a change, I think you should. Because as a chiropractor, when patients come in my office, I want to make sure that they're getting well, not just out of pain. And I tell people, what are your goals? You want to get out of pain? You want to get well? I think I can't remember, in all the years, 32 years of practice, I don't think anyone's ever said, listen, I just want to get out of pain. They said, I want to get well. And so then we find the bones that are out of place, put them back in place. We get their diet straightened out. We work on their digestive system. And we see most cases, pretty amazing results. Other terms you want to look out for: grass-fed. U.S. Department of Agriculture has defined grass-fed beef, bison, lamb, goats, and dairy as coming from animals that ate 100% grass, which means no corn, no soy, and enjoyed continuous access to pasture. But there's a couple of loopholes. So make sure you look for products that are from farmers certified by the American Grass-Fed Association, whose standards on that term are even stricter than the USDA. Grass-fed, good. Organic, best, when it comes to this long. Now, natural. I got to cover natural because I always get a kick out of this. Natural refers to a product that's made without artificial flavors, colors, or other synthetic substances. However, foods labeled natural can still contain potentially harmful ingredients such as high fructose corn syrup, natural flavors that in reality are produced in a laboratory. So things like monosodium glutamate, which are produced in a laboratory, can be natural flavors. Even worse, a recent study in Consumer Reports found that many products labeled natural contain genetically modified ingredients. So don't buy packaged food based solely on the natural claim. Read the ingredients and see for yourself. And it gets so confusing now, doesn't it? I get confused. I go into a supermarket. Now, I eat a pretty basic diet: fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And I say, I don't know what this means. What does this mean? What does that mean? So try to make better choices. And again, non-organic salad is still better than if you're eating a lot of heavy animal products: meats, dairies, cheese, butter, yogurt, ice cream. Because the salad, chances are going to have some residual pesticides, but not a whole lot. But if you're going to do corn and do soy, I strongly advise that you do organic only. In fact, I was in one of the big major health food chains, and they had corn 6 for $1. And I said, oh, man, I can't pass that up. That's crazy. And I brought it home, and I tasted it. It tasted really good. And I thought, this company really puts on the show to make it look like they have all natural foods. So I sent an email to their, Ask Us. And I said, is your corn genetically modified? And they said, we cannot say yes or no. So we recommend, if you're concerned about genetically modified food, you do organic only. So the answer was they didn't know, but the chances are that it was. So other words you want to look for if you're trying to eat healthier: no hormones labeled on meat and dairy products means that the hormones were not used in the production of the product. Good stuff. Should be noted that the USDA already prohibits the use of hormones in pork and poultry. So no need to seek out those labels. So I see commercials, and again, the wording is just so sneaky. It's a chicken, no hormones. Well, no hormones added. I mean, chicken have hormones in them because they're animals, but you can't add them anyway. But you can use antibiotics in chickens that act like hormones. So now we're kind of in a pickle. And unfortunately, if you ever go to other countries where they don't use steroids and hormones and chemicals and pesticides and artificial flavorings, if you eat the meat, I don't know this, but I understand the chicken is very tough because it doesn't have all the unnatural fat in it. And that becomes a problem. But I know I had one of my doctors who worked with me for years, several years ago. She was from Brazil. And she said when she first came to America, she couldn't eat the meat because the meat in Brazil, they don't use a lot of chemicals and steroids, and it tasted better. And when she came here, she said it tasted awful. It took her about 2 years to get used to it. And I said, why would you want to get used to eating something that isn't good for you? And she looked at me and she smiled. She goes, I know. You're right. Now, I used to eat meat. Years ago, I used to eat meat, but I look at what happens when we put these chemicals in our body and the steroids and the hormones and the pesticides. And the question to me is it worth it? The risk and reward. The reward is so much higher by not putting them in your body, and the risk is so much higher if it is. And so to me, it's just not worth it. Do I miss meatball sandwiches? Yeah, I do. Do I miss provolone cheese imported from Italy because I'm Italian? Yeah, I do. Do I miss Italian bread? Yeah, I do. But it's not worth it. Now, if you go to other countries, if you go to Europe and taste their bread, it tastes different because they're not using the glyphosate, which, they spray weed killer on the final crop of a lot of wheat in this country, so the wheat stalks die, so it's easier to harvest, and they don't use a lot of the other chemicals and hybridization that we use on a lot of the wheat here in the States. And so other countries, when they come here, are not happy with our food. So we can solve that problem by simply just eating a more organic diet and a simpler diet. You don't have to have a big, complex diet. My diet, breakfast, Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Dr. Joe's Essential Source. Snack is nuts, a couple of handfuls of nuts. Lunch is almost always a salad, and then dinner is usually some cooked food, but it's always a healthy plant-based. Folks, got to run. If you have any questions, you didn't get on the air, you can send them to me through my website, drjoeesposito.com. If you want to order Dr. Joe's Super Greens, Essential Source, my books, other supplements, drjoeesposito.com, and also on Amazon. We have an Amazon page, too. Hey, thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show, and make sure you tune in next time. Talk to you then.